presented by Prize Picks. $100 match on your first deposit with the promo code. Welcome to Light Years. I am thrilled to have my favorite person to talk basketball with. This might get contentious because I don't know if he agrees with me on some.
Man, what about Andy?
I talk with Andy all the time.
So he's no longer your favorite. It's just like that's just the guy you talk to. You're stuck with him.
It's like old married couple. It's like you see your wife of 40 years. I've already talked with you enough. Whereas you're the woman I see walking down the street.
I'm the side piece.
This is a terrible
That
analogy.
is an awful misogynistic. I mean, it's just you're all over the place here.
I'm just trying to pay you a compliment, and ultimately I'm just putting my foot in my mouth. But anyway, with that said, from the Athletics NBA show, all things basketball, I'm sure everyone listening to this checks you out. Dave Dufour, how you doing?
I'm great, man. Like, life is good. It's the playoffs. All the games matter. The games are good.
Yeah.
Most of the players are good. So, yeah.
I'll tell you about one who's not good now.
We're already going to start with this, huh?
I like the shirt. Can you show up? That's a DNVR shirt, right?
It's not a DNVR. It's an old school Adam Mares.
Oh,
this is a pre-DNVR.
For those listening on the podcast,
I'm a Mares hipster.
Adam's my guy. For those listening and not watching, Dave's wearing a Magic Jokic shirt. Obviously, the talk of the NBA right now is that Nikola Jokic guy. Not bad at all. Put together one of the best games I've ever seen in that Game 5. And then maybe my favorite player of all time decided to throw some kerosene on the fire with his criticism of Rudy Gobert in the post-game show, Draymond Green. And I feel like, I don't like to be the internet is saying guy, but it's been fun to watch just 24 hours of Gobert debate going on. It's
not Gobert debate. It's just Gobert hate, man. And it really is. And frankly, we talked about it a little bit last night. Like, he's sort of an easy target. He's sort of an easy target, right? Like, he does some goofy stuff sometimes. He says goofy stuff all the time. He has had a couple of debacles. He keeps doing the, I don't know. Rudy, you're not good enough for the refs to cheat you. Like, that's just, it doesn't. Now, I do think he's great. I think he's a great defender, especially in the team context. But my pushback to this entire thing, this relitigating Defensive Player of the Year, it's just like last week we were relitigating the MVP. Is Jokic the MVP again, or is that still? I don't know. I don't know.
First off,
I never wavered what we're giving and taking away.
Let the record show I never wavered in my support of Nikola. I'm a fan. I don't know how you can enjoy watching Steph Curry and not just appreciate everything that. It's like just completely opposite and also
but the same.
Yeah,
completely the same. It's like Anthony Edwards.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. So, I look. Jokic is an unsolvable problem, including by Draymond Green. Draymond Green doesn't do much better than Gobert does one-on-one against Jokic because no one can guard Jokic one-on-one. It's exactly why Jokic goes at Gobert the way he does. Because, frankly, like, the Timberwolves do not want this matchup one-on-one because it's unguardable. What they want is Gobert to help. They use this in game 3 and 4 where they had Karl Anthony Towns like picking him up early. The counter, put the ball in Aaron Gordon's hands. Now things get a little dicey because he's not hanging out in the corner where Gobert can sort of, play that sort of right field, right? Like, he's guarding the pass, he's guarding the dunker, and he's able to come help on Jokic. And so Jokic just says, okay, I'm blowing up this Gobert as helper. And now no one else is coming to help. So it's two birds, one stone. And no one is guarding Jokic. Nobody.
So I got two things to push back on that. One, yes, you're correct. Guarding Jokic is like at best a nebulous concept. Like, you held him to 50% from the field instead of 60.
Takes 6 guys to do it too. Like,
yeah, it's one of those. occasionally you'll have a game where he has too many turnovers. That's probably the best you can hope for when you get him in. Was it game 1 he had 7 turnovers?
Game 2?
Yeah.
Just absolutely looked like disheveled, right?
And I've seen the Warriors when they had a better squad do the same thing to him, usually with the same idea. Looney's going to guard him and just like give it the old effort, be, post position, and then Draymond's going to be hawking with, instinctually forcing steals left and right. That's tends to be your best shot at getting some semblance of success against him.
Right.
I still want to take it back to the Draymond point, though. And it really is about the defensive player of the year. It really is about that. And I push back at the idea he should have a single defensive player of the year. That's where I'm at with it. And hear me out on this argument, okay? Mm-hmm. You don't have to agree with it, but hear me out.
It's really most valuable defender, by the way, is what we ought to do.
Yes, and that's how I'm thinking about it. I would say this era, I'm defining this era basically as the rise of the Warriors to now, is defined by positional versatility. The Warriors kind of made everyone realize, oh, wow, 3 is worth more than 2. Oh, wow, so now we're going to space the floor. And so being a more versatile defender is more valuable now than being elite at one specific thing, whether that's guarding one-on-one, whether that's being a rim protector, or anything in between. I would say the best defender in the NBA, pound for pound, is probably Bam Adebayo for me, just because I think he does, or maybe Anthony Davis. I might even say Draymond just because I'm an unapologetic homer, but I'm willing to hear arguments that he's a little slower than he used to be.
Yeah.
34 is real. So I think that type of defender just tends to have more legs than anyone else. And your point is correct. Gobert was a monster in the first couple games. They had him roaming as a helper off Aaron Gordon. Then they made the obvious adjustment and made him play one-on-one a little bit, and it's fine. I don't think he played poorly. I also think there are guys who could have made life more difficult for Jokic in that context. And that's where I have an issue with. I just have an issue with a guy whose number one impact can be schemed into a way where he's less effective, being the most decorated defensive player of an era. When this era's defense is defined by guys like Draymond Green or Anthony Davis. Yeah.
Period. To me, at least, it's Draymond Green. I think
and then everyone's downstream of, like maybe Anthony Davis or Giannis have put together years that are just as good as any Draymond year, but they're essentially applying what he showed as like the model defensively, right?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but you can't take Draymond Green and stick 4 just absolute slugs around him and expect to have a top 5 defense every year in the regular season. And Rudy does that.
We just tested that this year. That is Rudy, factually correct.
And Rudy can do that every single year. I would argue that if you were going to detract from him any year, this would be the year, because he has Anthony Edwards and he has Jaden McDaniels, and this is the easiest job he's probably had. But like, he is an elite floor raiser, right? Yeah. Like, your floor is at your eyeballs if he's your center. It's just that anyone is like, you can scheme anyone out. And the thing is, if he could apply more pressure on the offensive end, it would be easier for him to stay in the game on the defensive end. That being said, he had 18 points last night. Rudy was not the problem last night. They lost his minutes by 2 points. The thing is, they've got to have a curveball when that fastball that they come out of the gate with isn't working. Because at first we saw it disrupted everything they tried to do. Game 2, we didn't get a chance to see. And I actually wonder if this might have thrown the Nuggets off a little bit. Probably not, but with Rudy being a late scratch in Game 2, they didn't get to deploy this new wrinkle really against Rudy until Game 3, right? Like, then we saw it and it worked. I wonder if they were just thrown a little off from their game plan in Game 2, in addition to being exhausted. But it's a better team. Like, the Nuggets are a better team. They're the champs. They're, we assume they're going on. And Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world that no one can stop. No one can stop. I don't know why anyone, like, Rudy did about as good of a job as you can do. And doing it, like you said, doing a good job against Jokic means sometimes he puts up 40 on you.
Yeah. Okay. I just
hate to hammer him over one game, because the guy's body of work it's extensive and it is high quality. It is not in my opinion, like I think he's like a 4.7 out of 5 of what you would want in a center if Anthony Davis is your 5. And I actually think Anthony Davis is like a whole different level because he can't be schemed out. But it's a regular season award. And this is the thing is like, maybe we need to just take these awards and we need to make them for the whole season. And then only the elite of the elite will ever win them. And then that way the season's over. We don't have to do this thing where we're like, well, see, he wasn't really the defense player of the year, even though he anchored the number one defense.
It all goes back to devaluing the regular season. If we thought we were seeing everyone's best punch every night, we wouldn't have such an issue with the awards.
Now, Victor Wembanyama to me was the most impressive individual defender this season that I got to watch. And you saw like his impact on the like way worse defense in the league. Was huge. I think they were top 10, top 7, something like that in defense in the minutes he played. So, but that's a different thing, right? Like, because we don't give the award to that guy. We give it to the guy who anchors the best defense or who does something ridiculous, which Victor Wembanyama next year may not anchor the best defense in the league, but he may block 5 shots a game.
I'll be very disappointed if the Spurs run out a roster that looks something like this year's next year, but that's their problem, not mine. I do agree with you. There was a Warrior game against the Spurs in the middle of the season, and just watching guys pass up shots because he's 8 feet away it's a sight. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where you're like, that is a lot of range they are scared of. Anyway.
He may wind up with a lot of unquantifiable impact.
Yeah, it's like you see it, but it's not going to show up.
Yeah. So like there could theoretically be a season where it's like, wow, he only blocked 2.5 shots a game. Why? And then you go and look and it's like, well, he's only able to contest about 4 shots a game because they're just not shooting. It's like Barry Bonds, right? He's going to get walked a lot.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. Okay. Before we get to our next topic, guys, I want to tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app. 5 million members, and it's the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sport and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, and you can win up to 100x your cash. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. Guys, I'm not just a Gobert hater in daytime. I back it up on my Prize Picks. So you bet I bet against him, and I won this last week. He's taken over for James Harden as my #1 play. I'm coming through with some big wins there. And it's fun. You know, look, the Warriors are out of the playoffs. We're all a little disappointed. Is it over? Can they figure something out to be relevant before everyone retires? I don't know. It's just a way to kind of make the playoffs a little more exciting, have some form of a rooting interest, even if I am being a hater. So, guys, download the app today and use the promo code LIGHTYEARS for your first deposit match up to $100. That's right. You put $100 in, they'll match it with another $100 and have some fun playing it, guys. That's right. Prize Picks, promo code LIGHTYEARS. By the way,
I feel like that was like a PowerPoint presentation. We got to work on this, Sam. Were you clicking the mouse?
No.
Okay.
My browser froze in the middle. I was ghastly afraid my computer was going to crash in the middle, and I froze up on that basis. So it's not my first rodeo doing an ad read. It's more of it might be time to get a new computer. Anyway,
yeah.
That's it.
Well, y'all got that light years money, just go ahead and do it, right?
Yeah, but you know how it goes. You get a new one, you think it's going to last you 5-10 years, and it never does. And then you get prideful. And then you're just like, how long can I have it go? Inevitably, it has to crash during something important and like nuke your life for you to finally be like, it's time. It is time.
I've gotten out early. I have never had a catastrophic crash to a hard drive. I always back stuff up. And anytime a computer is on its last legs, I've always just been able to pull the plug. I don't know.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
I've never had something super tragic, but there's always like that annoying crashes in the middle of something and I lose something in general. Less of an issue now when everything's like Google Docs saved on a drive, is where it's just like, okay, you may be annoyed getting your computer up and running, but whatever you're working on is fine.
Right.
Even like recording, on playback, StreamYard, whatever it may be, like everything's recorded into cloud as well. So it's not like the old days of like, I'm recording to my computer.
Oh no.
Yeah,
oh
exactly.
Man. StreamYard, man, game changer. It's so nice. All right. Well, this is two inside podcasting. This is
two inside. But anyway, okay. So you mentioned kind of what changed the series was Nuggets adjusting, getting Aaron Gordon off.
Well, honestly, the biggest change, man, was 3 days off.
Yeah, pretty much
3 days off. That was the biggest change. Jamal Murray looks totally different.
Sure.
And that's huge because now all of a sudden they can get into the 2-man game with him and Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
And then, again, a lot of people are going to talk about Aaron Gordon and how well he's played. But Justin Holiday and Christian Brown have actually been game changers too.
But so just talking Aaron Gordon, I feel like him and Andrew Wiggins, at least when the Warriors won the title 2 years ago, there's a lot of similarities between the two of them where they were miscast in their first stop in the NBA. Yeah. High lottery picks. I can see why they both went high in the lottery. They physically possess the perfect profile for forwards. And some skill to go with it, but they're not that player. You're not building a team around either of them as a first option. At least if your goal is to do anything. And it got me wondering, and I don't know if you've thought about this too much, but like, who's the next option there? Because when I look at the Warriors, and we are like going to bring this back to the Warriors, we can, talk about LeBron. Probably not going to happen. And if it happens, it's good because he wants it to happen. It's not going to be because they did something. And majority of your fake trade proposals, and God knows I've done a million of them, unlikely to. Your best bet is usually like the Wiggins type of acquisition. Someone who's, it's not going well, but you think in your system with a changed role, you can get them back on track, and it's that impact player. And I'm wondering, like, does anyone pop to mind for you? Because you can even throw PJ Washington for Dallas. It's not to the same level as those two guys, but like kind of lost in Charlotte. And this is the role he's meant to play for sure.
The one guy that I think about is Zach LaVine, right?
Ooh, okay.
Zach LaVine is an interesting player. Like, he's a decent shooter. He's actually, like, he's so athletic. You think that in a good system, maybe he could defend well. And we saw him do pretty well when they had Lonzo and Alex Caruso out there with him. I thought he held up pretty well. But he can really score. And if I were the Golden State Warriors, that's a guy that I would at least think about, because that's the biggest problem they have. Steph Curry is your only option to score outside of Jonathan Kuminga, who is, we can safely say, I think, delayed in development through just not getting reps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He should be at least a full year ahead of where he is, especially with a guy with that sort of scoring talent. And who knows if he's going to, do enough development this summer to improve. But I think Zach LaVine in the right place with the right people. Think about the mindset that like Draymond Green has, what he was able to do for Andrew Wiggins. I don't know, man. Like, maybe LaVine could come in and there's no knuckleheadedness happening and everybody is happy, and you got this crazy athlete flying down the court with Steph.
Let's get Cat too. Let's just get all the Wolves rejects around Steph and Draymond. Steph and Draymond tend to fix everything. So, maybe that's the move. That's an interesting one because he's kind of asked to be Anthony Edwards, and he's not Anthony Edwards. He's not Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, he's not quite to that level. But on the Warriors, I mean, he's more talented than Jordan Poole. And you saw how good Jordan was on the Warriors. And to your point, I mean, his contract's enormous. If the Bulls just want to get off of him, like, it won't be an expensive acquisition. That's like actually in the realm of realistic.
Yeah.
You want to go down that path?
Well, and that was the thing, right? It's like, this is a guy, what his athletic potential looks like. I mean, and this is post ACL tear, obviously, but he has looked good. I think he scores well enough. And you would imagine that in that system, as a release valve sort of second guy, and able to lead those bench units when Steph can sit, like, and maybe it doesn't fall apart on the offensive end, would be huge for them. I think at least worth a shot. He's still a pretty good player. Now, he's not a lockdown defender, but maybe the other guys need to step up too.
The interesting thing is his best stretch of defense, for what it's worth, was that 2021 Team USA experience with Draymond. Oh, yeah. I mean, he supplanted Bradley Beal and Dame in the rotation. Mm-hmm. And Draymond, of everyone, spoke so highly of him. He went with the classic, he doesn't know how good a defender he can be, which is like, maybe that is what you need. Draymond's breathe life into less talented players.
There you go.
He's also got he's like a legit 6'5", legit 6'5". Mm-hmm. So he's like a good size shooting guard. So no more of the micro ball backcourt, like ideally. That makes sense. What about, because I threw the question out and I've got a ton of names here. And I'm not going to ask you a ton of names, to be clear. Cool. But this one's getting floated. Everyone assumes he's getting traded because the GM basically said he's going to get traded. Brandon Ingram.
Yeah. I mean, Brandon Ingram,
less or more interesting than Levine to you, and why?
I think more. I think he's more interesting. And then the way that Brandon Ingram operates in the mid range, you could see Steve Kerr valuing.
Yeah.
And it would get him some opportunities. And a little bit of 2-man game with him and Steph could open him up for some opportunities. He can handle, he's got good size, right? Like he's not a zero defensively. He's not a great defender, but he's not a zero. And again, scheme, he's a guy that maybe in the right scheme looks better. But he might be a tricky guy just because volume of threes. Like I think with Zach LaVine, getting him to take 10 threes a game, his eyes are going to light up. And that's what you need,
yes,
right?
Please. Yeah.
Yeah, please. Hey, can I take 20? And with Ingram, it's going to be a little bit more. You're going to have to deal with more jab stepping. You're going to have to deal with a little bit slower. From here, when it's him in the bench, I think Zach LaVine is more likely, especially off the ball. Like think about him flying around like Steph Curry, right? I think it's more likely you're going to see LaVine be able to do that stuff than Brandon Ingram. I mean, imagine some of the Clay packages being deployed for Zach LaVine, a guy who can also attack off the dribble.
Yeah. To your point, I'm looking at it. LaVine over the last 5 years. So basically since he came back from the ACL tear, 7.5 threes a game, 39%. Yes, he will not be shy about shooting the ball. And that's a good point. Cause like the biggest critique of Ingram is the ball does stick. And we know how Steve Kerr feels about, honestly, we know how Steph and Draymond feel about that. You could say that if they make it work, he's the perfect curveball. But there's also a lot of potential for, what's the expression, like water and oil? Like it just won't work that way, right?
Yeah.
So,
but your options are kind of slim because I just don't, even though I think this summer is going to be ludicrous with the amount of guys seeking trades, being traded, even not just seeking trades, just straight up being traded. I just don't see a route for the Warriors to get in on any of the bigger names. And who would you consider? Well, like Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler could get traded.
Okay.
There's a chance, right? Like, but could the Warriors get in on Jimmy Butler? I don't think so.
It's pretty hard.
Andrew Wiggins
pretty hard.
The Heat?
It's pretty hard to justify also because, Jimmy's 35.
Right.
The Warriors are old. It might be.
Well, this is why I want him to trade for Kevin Durant.
Yeah, might as well just get back. Just get back together.
Do the old folks home. Just say, patch it all up. They imagine the coverage that they would get all year.
Yeah,
to be a play-in team, it would be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. Before we move on, I want to tell everyone about Unified. Whether you're a world-class athlete or a podcaster like Dave and me, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by the Emergency Enhancement System, or the EES system. If you haven't heard of the EES system yet, you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Whether you're here in the Bay Area or hundreds of other locations across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. Interested in experiencing the EES system technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/lightyears to learn more for a center near you. That's UNIFYD healing.com/lightyears. You mentioned Jonathan Kuminga. I want to ask you one quick question on him before we kind of get out of here. All right. You think he should be ahead developmentally. I don't know if you heard Steve Kerr's comments at the end of the year. He kind of poo-pooed the idea that he can play the 3 as presently constructed. Basically said he needs to be a better ball handler, decision maker, and shooter. So just, everything that goes into offensive basketball. And part of, I don't want to say he's a polarizing player because he's very talented. And I think he's going to be good. I'm trying to figure out how he fits into the Warriors, where they only want to play him in small ball lineups. I think they need to get away from Draymond at the 5 24/7. They don't have the personnel to do it. They don't have Andre Iguodala and like those and prime Klay Thompson, that sort of stuff. And then finally, like, he is probably your best trade chip if you did want to make a move. So floor's yours.
All right, man. We've been saying the Oklahoma City Thunder are too small and Chet Holmgren's 7-1. They need a center. Of all the teams to beg to get a center this summer, it's amazing that it's the Golden State Warriors when they have routinely carried just, I don't know, 3 or 4 bum centers for years. I just get one.
Where's James Michael McAdoo?
Gosh, oh man, that would be just a relief. But just get a center, yeah. With the Kuminga thing, it's funny because, like, look, man, if you can't dribble and make decisions, I don't know how you play the 4 for the Warriors either, right? So, and frankly, Draymond should be your 4. You need a 5. You need a center, and I think that puts Kuminga in prime position to be the 3 next year if Wiggins isn't there. But
I really think it's shooting. I think
shooting. He's got to be able to stick a shot, because the problem is it's him and Draymond. It's actually not Kuminga. You need to be Draymond that can shoot.
Well, it's him, Draymond, and a center who likely will not be a shooter. If you get Chet Holmgren,
Miles Turner.
Yeah, exactly. Or Chet Holmgren,
right,
stick a shot, like that sort of thing. That would obviously be the dream scenario. You pick up a center who can protect the rim and hit shots, but how many of those are in the NBA? And who's trading?
Well, it feels like there's a lot more now than there used to be, which is exactly why the Warriors need one. I mean, like, frankly, like, I don't know. You're not beating this guy. You're not beating Nikola Jokic without a big, period. Maybe you need 2. You might need 2. I mean, we're watching the Timberwolves right now. Now, Karl Anthony Towns is not elite defensively.
We got Trace Jackson Davis.
I just think about a scenario. If you had Gobert and you had Draymond Green, and don't think about the offensive end because that would be atrocious. But, now you've got 2 guys that might stand a chance at being able to not only defend Jokic in and out, but also the passing lanes and all the other ways that you have to defend him. And he's still going to get 40 on those guys. Like, it's unguardable. So I think that if you're the Warriors' big priority, obviously you need someone who can score, but you need a big and one who can play, switch, not get destroyed.
Right.
I mean, like I don't know. I don't know where that guy is
and how you acquire him for not a
Andrew
lot.
Wiggins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, now there
are going to be teams interested in Wiggins. I think like if I'm Memphis, I'm maybe kicking the tires on Andrew Wiggins.
Jaren Jackson shoots threes.
Well, yeah. Just straight trade, easy trade.
Throw in a first-round pick for all your troubles, guys.
Yeah. Now, I don't think John Collins is going to be in the plans, though.
I can see Steve Kerr's face watching John Collins right now. It's not a positive one. I mean, the Kuminga thing, like, I do think you're right. It's just shooting. Steve's going to say everyone needs to work on their decision-making until he has a 0 turnover game. Like, just until perfection exists, everyone's not making the best decisions. But that's the issue they run into. I mean, they lost the game against the Wemby-less Spurs, and there were bigger issues in this, but like, they couldn't generate offense with Kuminga, Draymond, and Trace on the floor at the same time.
Right.
Why? Because no one would guard them at the 3-point line. You let 3 guys camp in the paint. Well, it's like having Wemby, but yeah.
And, I don't know. It's not like those guys are out running around setting a bunch. Like they're not moving enough to set screens for each other to score, right? Because you could actually do. I refuse to believe that you can't build an offense like without 4 shooters. Like I actually have just seen it happen too many times. But everyone has to be an active participant in the offense. You can't have a guy who's stationary where the defense can sag because they're not worried about him taking the shot. He has to then be involved and move, whether it's working the baseline or whatever. But that doesn't happen with those three guys when they're on the court at the same time. I think that's experience with Trace Jackson Davis for sure. Sometimes he doesn't know where to be. He's looking to make plays, jumping in from the dunker, but also Kuminga likes that because he also likes to get the post-ups down there. So that's tricky when they occupy the same space and don't have the chemistry and the experience enough to know, hey, okay, he likes to make this move, and if I jump this way and make this move, now if I touch the ball, I got to open pass to him. And you see this, look at the way Jokic and Aaron Gordon do their two-man game inside, and then sometimes MPJ comes in behind them. That's three bigs in the paint. Like you're not making any space there, and they get dunks out of it. Now, why the hell can't Draymond do that?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's they could get better at just utilizing movement to generate spacing in general, but it all still comes back to like, John, if no one's guarding you and you're standing on the perimeter, just shoot it. But they've been trying to get Draymond to do that for a decade. This last year, he actually did it a little bit, but it's some ships are sailed. Dave, I really appreciate you hopping on with me.
Of course,
Great day, sir.